Wait a minute, the Cowboys aren't going to be that bad, right? Like the Cowboys would. Shadur Sanders is going to be the first pick, the third pick, the sixth pick.
Turning over, yes, CeeDee Lamb is expendable. I mean, there's a better chance.
CeeDee Lamb is expendable.
Better chance, in my opinion, that Shadur Sanders could be the quarterback there next year than Dak Prescott at this point. Because
It seems like the Dallas Cowboys are making their exact same mistake all over again, only this time they're doing it with the most important position on any football team. It's a storyline that we've kept an eye on throughout the entire offseason, and it's reached a boiling point, with Dak Prescott even saying that he doesn't pay attention to anything that Jerry Jones says anymore. The tensions are at an all-time high in a very crucial season for the Dallas Cowboys. But before we get to the content, I am currently coming to you guys from a poorly lit hostel in Barcelona. I'll be back in my studio in about a week, guys. So make sure you drop, like, subscribe, and turn on our notifications to help the channel grow. And if you guys want to see what I'm up to while I'm traveling, check me out on Snapchat. Now that we get all that out of the way, work! Ladies and gentlemen, the wait is finally over. Football season is back, and to celebrate the return of football, we're getting 2 free squares from Prize Picks, meaning you only need to pick one player's stats correctly in order to 3x your money, or if you want to get crazy and pick 2 player stats correctly, you could 5x your money. Now, if you aren't signed up for Prize Picks and you're good at projecting player stats in sports, then I highly recommend you download the app. I even have a promo code for you to get $50 when you make an entry of $5 or more, and that promo code is Mikerophone. The first free square is in college football. Jalen Milroe only needs 1 passing yard when Alabama opens their season for his square to cash. Now, you can pair Jalen up with any player in college football or the NFL, but I personally think I'm going to pair him with Baker Mayfield's pass yardage versus Washington for a chance to 3x my money. Once that game is over, we have another free square from Prize Picks, and Caleb Williams just needs 1 passing yard in his debut for his square to cash. Now, I'll give you my picks for week 1 on my Instagram at @TheFlightMike, where I post my free picks daily, and if you haven't signed up for Prize Picks, I highly recommend it. It's a great way to get some action in these games, and between us, they really aren't good at making lines in the beginning of the season. Use my promo code Mikerophone and get $50 when you make an entry of $5 or more, and thank you, Prize Picks, for the sponsor. Mic check 1 2 1 2. What's going on, everybody? If you guys missed our video on CeeDee Lamb the other day, he recently became the second highest paid non-quarterback in the entire NFL. Now, in that video, I mentioned that I wasn't really sure if the Dallas Cowboys were so incompetent that they were willing to wait till the very last minute to extend CeeDee Lamb. Because if you compare CeeDee Lamb to the other wide receivers that were up for contract extensions throughout the entire offseason, you could very well make a case that he wanted to drag this situation on as long as humanly possible so he can make as much money as humanly possible. And in the case of CeeDee Lamb, I believe he got his market value, which is getting paid right after Justin Jefferson. And Brandon Ayuk would eventually follow suit, getting paid $30 million a year annually. We have a whole documentary on that that's about 25 minutes long, covering the ins and outs of everything in that story. So if you guys want to check it out, I'll leave a link to it in the end screen. In that video, I gave the Cowboys the benefit of the doubt. I thought to myself that this is the Jones family, and although they've said some stupid in the past, like this,
we are so involved in trying to see where we are with our situations, that is a major part of seeing the leaves fall, seeing the time go by, seeing this day and this week, how they go by. I have, in my life, played option quarterback so many times and wait until the last leaf on the tree. And if you want to picture an pure option quarterback going out to the sideline, I have run that ball and kept it and not hand it off to the back, not pitch it back, not throw it. And I have run that thing all the way out to the sideline before I made the decision, because I couldn't get whatever it took to. It wasn't right for me to make the decision. And so what our fans, what you're seeing, what we deal with is we're buying time. We're option quarterbacking, and we're going on out toward the sideline, and we haven't handed it off. We haven't pitched it. We're trying to make our mind up what to do. Does that sound like Mahomes to you a little bit? Okay. It do.
I still assume that a family that has been in the business of football for over 3 decades would know that it is to their benefit to extend their players as soon as humanly possible. And I assumed it was CeeDee Lamb's camp that was trying to drag this on as much as possible. But at the same time, if you pay attention to how CeeDee Lamb reacted to Jerry Jones saying, "I don't have urgency,"
I don't have a sense of urgency about getting it done.
It's a long season.
this would also indicate otherwise. And I guess that's where my frustration comes from, because it's clear that Jerry Jones tries to play this game where he acts like he has all the leverage in the world against these players, but truthfully, at the end of the day, he is the worst poker player you've ever seen. Man keeps bluffing, and it's not really a high quality bluff because he has no leverage in these negotiations. Now, you remember when Jerry Jones said this?
How do we feel about where we've been in this free agency? We feel great about what we've been in free agency. All in. All in. All in. We're all in with these young guys coming on. And we're all in with this draft. And we're all in with knowing that you have to go.
While the Cowboys have officially started to make some moves this past week, also signing Dalvin Cook to a contract. And while this running back room would have looked fantastic 4 years ago with Ezekiel Elliott, Dalvin Cook, and Rico Dowdle, those of you guys that selected Dowdle in fantasy football, you'll be very excited to hear this.
No, he's one of those underrated players that kind of do the dirty work. Knows the playbook inside out. He helping me with the playbook right now. So he's just one of those players, man, don't get enough recognition, but put his head down and just work. Just for me being around him, you know, for the day, I could kind of see how he go about his business. So just seeing him on the TV and seeing how it translates to how he in the building is well.
And on top of that, Mike McCarthy even said this about Dowdle.
I mean, he's going to have opportunities, you know, and you know, we tend to forget, you know, Rico's, I thought he was an excellent special teams player too. So, you know, he'll have a lesser role in special teams just because of workload focus. But yes, he's a complete running back, plays all 3 downs. I mean, I think his pass protection from his rookie year to now is, you know, it's become one of his best assets.
Now, despite the Cowboys making some moves this past week, I have to admit, I'm not really optimistic in this team's future. To set the stage of the Dak Prescott situation, you have to understand how terrible his contract truly is. So Dak Prescott got his first contract extension in 2020, and the way the contract was structured was hysterically bad. I mean, it literally put the Cowboys in a situation where they have no leverage for the future. Dak Prescott had virtually no cap hit for the first 3 years of this contract extension, but at the same time, it was backloaded in one of the most disgusting ways we've ever seen in NFL history. Dak has a cap hit of $55.4 million this year and a $40 million dead cap hit in 2025. Even if Dak Prescott leaves, the Cowboys are on the books for this cap hit. And the only way out of this situation is to extend Dak and spread that cap hit over the remainder of his next contract. And the thing is, Dak Prescott understands this, which leads to this gigantic game of chicken where Jerry Jones once again has absolutely no leverage and Dak Prescott. And Dak has handled this situation remarkably, whereas Jerry Jones has been trying to tell the entire world that he is a master negotiator in these instances. My favorite instance was when he mentioned how the NFL has a Sunday ticket lawsuit, which can result in the NFL salary cap decreasing for the very first time. I mean, take a look at this.
Is that I feel like when you look at cap, you need to have a feel of where the revenue is going to be down the road. I feel like I know better than anybody living. I've got a feel for what the revenue is going to be 4, 5, 6 years from now than anybody living. I've spent all this time doing that, and I understand it. And if you don't understand what the revenue is going to be, then you can't look ahead and see what the cap is going to be. I've got a better feel, I think, than anybody, because I have a sense of what revenues might be for the whole league 4, 5, 6 years from now. And so that if you see me optimistic, then you must know that I think it's pretty good. If you see me a little cautious, you must know that I'm being cautious. I mean, I hate to be repeated, but I didn't add that the other day, but I'm the best at looking around corners. Now, I don't know what that is, But as far as body language and instincts, I'm better than anybody.
Only for Judge Philip Gutierrez to overturn the $4.7 billion judgment against the NFL in the Sunday ticket trial. So Jerry Jones was wrong about that. Meanwhile, Dak Prescott has been handling the media perfectly. In April, he said that he doesn't need to become the highest paid player necessarily, and he's just willing to wait until the negotiations begin, and obviously he wants to put this team in the best situation. But after CeeDee Lamb got his money, it seems like Dak is officially turning up the heat on the Dallas Cowboys, and to be honest, I can't really blame him. No matter what you say, there's no question about it that Dak Prescott is a top 5 QB in the NFL. Just taking a look at his regular season stats last year is all you really need to see. The man threw for over 4,500 passing yards, 36 touchdowns, and 9 interceptions last year. He had his career high in completions, and he had a 69.5% completion percentage. Alas, Dak gets a lot of hate for his performance against the Green Bay Packers in the very disappointing wildcard defeat versus the Packers. The thing that drives me the craziest about this is the man still threw for over 400 passing yards in that game, and also had 45 yards rushing in that game as well. And yes, he did throw 2 interceptions in that game as well, so he wasn't perfect, but his defense also gave up 48 points. And you had DeMarcus Lawrence saying things like this.
What happened why your team isn't here?
All honesty, I think the main thing is who's burned out, man.
And the fact that the Cowboys are memed mercilessly, and the fact that he is the quarterback of the Cowboys, always results in Dak Prescott getting the blame finger pointed at him when the Cowboys fail, especially in this particular instance where the Cowboys defense let him down. Do I think Dak is the perfect QB? Not necessarily, but I will admit that every single time the Cowboys gave him weapons on offense and players that he could depend on, then he has delivered for the Cowboys. I think he does a masterful job handling the media, and I think if the Cowboys put pen to paper, he'd be willing to sign a contract that's similar to what Trevor Lawrence and Joe Burrow signed, or even a contract that's $56 million a year annually, which would help the Cowboys tremendously once they need to sign Micah Parsons next year. But it seems like things are not trending in that direction at all whatsoever. As a matter of fact, it seems like the Cowboys are doing a horrible job handling this situation. An article was written by The Athletic by Saad Youssef titled "Dak Carries All the Leverage in Negotiations with the Cowboys and He Knows It." The article opens up with Dak Prescott being asked whether he felt like he was next up for an extension after CeeDee Lamb. His response was not really sure. Not in my focus anymore, to be honest with you. Told you guys that. Really can't say ever was really my focus. Prescott said he's not going to be a part of them here as the season starts, and he's leaving those talks up to his agent and the Cowboys. My job and my focus now is to control what I can. As I said well back in camp, it's 2 parts to this. Both sides have to come to the agreement. Dak was then asked if he needed a contract extension before the season begins, but he said no, he doesn't. Would he like a deal before the season? And he responded by saying, I think it says a lot if it is or if it isn't. But however, it doesn't really matter to me, to be honest with you. Well, what does it say? Just how people feel. I think it's the perfect way to handle this situation, because honestly, there's really nothing the Jones family can do in this instance that could keep their window of contention open but to extend Dak Prescott because of the cap hit he brings if he leaves. You also can't franchise tag Dak Prescott. And honestly, I could really appreciate the way Dak handles the media. When Prescott was asked about his reaction to Jerry Jones saying that his extension was more about the cap ramifications than Dak's merits, Dak just responded by saying, I understand that. That's the business and the nature of this game we played. But the next part of this is crazy, because Jerry Jones was asked what more does he need to see from Dak Prescott in order to get a contract extension, and his response was shocking. You could easily say, if you haven't seen it by now, you haven't seen it. I'm such a fan of Dak, and I appreciate all the great things that we all know are there, and I appreciate his work ethic probably more than anything. I can't tell you how proud I am that we've got him this year to start this campaign. Dak's situation right now for me has more to do with our situation than it does with the merits of Dak Prescott being the quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys. So Jerry was then asked what his plan B at the quarterback position, especially considering how Trey Lance threw 5 interceptions in his preseason finale. And Jerry responded saying, I quit a long time ago getting bent out of shape about having anybody under contract or not. There are all kinds of things other than a contract that can change the outcome of him being under contract. Injury, level of play. So you can't just pick that and say that should give you a better feeling about our team or me a better feeling. The whole thing has a lot of moving parts. Now, I can live with that because we play a game that it can change on the next play. And this is where it gets funny, because going back to what Dak Prescott was saying about his situation, I stopped honestly, listening to things that Jerry Jones says to the media a long time ago, it doesn't really hold weight with me. At the end of the day, it's very difficult for me as a Cowboy fan to envision a better scenario than extending Dak Prescott immediately and either paying him $55 or $56 or $57 million a year annually, as opposed to waiting till next offseason and then paying him something like $60 or $61 million a year annually, or letting him walk in free agency and sign with a different team and then taking on the cap hit as he's playing for a different team. But if you're a Cowboy fan, let me know in the comment section down below. How do you feel about the way Jerry Jones has been handling the team? Do you want Dak Prescott to get a contract extension, or do you want the Cowboys to draft Shedeur Sanders or something like that? I like to hear what you have to say. Aside from that, I'm your boy Mike, and I'm dropping our mic until our next upload.